guys, good morning and good evening. I would be your Intune trainer. So this is a second demo for the class that is going to start from coming Monday, that's on 25th at 7 a.m. IST. Okay, and I'm going to talk to you about what is this Intune and why are you supposed to attend this class? Okay, when you have so many resources outside. First and foremost, we'll be covering the backend workflows of Intune activities like your application deployment, your autopilot, and then your Windows update for business. So whatever activities that you're going to do in your production, we cover in the backend workflows, which is not available freely over the internet or over Udemy or over your YouTube. Okay. So once these workflows are learned, it will be easy for you to troubleshoot. Next. Now, people are talking SCCM and Intune in synonymous with each other, right? Now, what is this SCCM and what is this Intune? Okay, you should have a very distinctive differences between two, okay, for you to go forward. So what is this SCCM? This is an on-prem application deployment tool. Put it as on-prem application, or I would say on-prem device management tool. What is this Intune? That is cloud native device management tool. Okay. Now, can they work together? Yes, they can work together. Now, what are the other limitations that SCCM has? What are the limitations Intune has? We can even talk about. Now, SCCM is an on-prem tool, as I spoke. Then what it can do application deployment, and this can do patch management, it can do image management. Now here in image management, I'm going to put specifically something called as bare metal machine OS deployment. Okay, when it comes to image management, your SCCM can do bare metal machine OS deployment. What can your Intune do? Intune also can do application deployment. But limitation is up to 8 GB. Okay, you cannot deploy an app of more than 8 GB. Then it can do patch management. Then it can do image management. Now in image management, what do we call? We call Windows 10 autopilot, but it cannot install an operating system for a bare metal device. It cannot install an operating system for a bare metal device, right? At this point in time, okay. Then how is the reporting? Reporting is very extensive. Here, extensive reporting is there. Okay, using SSRS. But here, for reporting, you will have to use Power BI. That's an additional tool. Okay, native reports are not very extensive. Okay, can they work together? Yes, they can work together using something called as co-management. I'll also talk in very detail about co-management in the class. So these are very high level differences that you are seeing. Now, what are the disadvantages of using SCC? So, extensive hardware required. So when I say extensive hardware, you need servers on each location. Then you need SQL licenses. Then what else you need? You need good configuration to install console. Now for Intune, all that you need is just a browser. You have a browser to log in into endpoint.microsoft. You have access to your Intune console. From there, you can manage. Now, this is the differences that you would have to be knowing, but this is a very high level differences. We'll go in deep during the class. Next, I spoke about on-prem device. I spoke about cloud native device management. Now, how does this work? Okay, how does your SCCM and Intune work together when this is on-prem and this is cloud native? Okay, for this, you should know a simple concept called Azure AD Join or Hybrid AD Join. What is that? Azure AD Join or Hybrid AD Join. What is Azure AD Join or Hybrid AD Join? Very simple. Machines will only talk to your Azure Active Directory. What is hybrid AD Join? Machines will only talk to but your Azure Active Directory plus your hybrid or your on-prem AD. So when your on-prem AD and your Azure AD are in sync, then we call it as hybrid AD join. Why am I talking about this? This is an Azure concept, right? Why am I talking here? Because Intune is a management tool which is part of your Azure Active Directory. If machines come to your Azure Active Directory, only then your Intune will be able to manage those devices. Now let us look at the workflow behind it. Okay, let me open a MS Paint. Okay, so here, let me first talk about Azure AD Join. So let me write it down here. Azure AD Join. What is the workflow behind it? So first, my client device. Let me take a client device and name it as client one. Now this client one, what happens? It will get enrolled to your Azure Active Directory. So let me take this is my Azure AD. Now what will happen? Your client will get enrolled, and you can see it will be in here in your Azure ID as client one. Now after this enrollment happens, your MTM will come into picture. So let us take this as your Intune MTM. Now here what will happen? There will be sync that will be happening between your Azure AD and Intune MTM. Then after the sync, what will happen? Your client one will come here. Once your client one comes here, your Intune will take over the management of this client. When what it will do? It will send policies, it will send apps, you can do autopilot and all those things here. Okay, so policies, apps, autopilot, all of this can be done. Now, this is your simple hybrid Azure AD join. Sorry, Azure AD join. Now let's talk about hybrid Azure AD join. This looks very simple, right? Now hybrid join is little bit complicated. Okay, so I'll show you how that works. Hybrid Azure AD join. Okay, now here, if you go, I have my client one again. Now my client is already in my on-prem ID called lab.com. Now, after this is done, what will happen? I have my cloud active directory where I establish a sync between my on-prem AD and cloud AD. Okay, this is my Azure AD. Okay, now what happens? This end user machine, end user machine is here. Okay, this client one, it will be in your on-prem, and from on-prem it will get synced to your Azure Active Directory. And you can see the client one here. After this is done, your Intune will come into picture now. So let's take your Intune. Again, your Intune MDM. It will sync to your Azure Active Directory. Okay, and you will get your client one here. Now you got your client one. Okay, it will start managing in your Azure hybrid Azure Ad Join environment. Now your question should be, where is my SCCM server here? I don't see that. Yes, your SCCM server can also be placed. Okay, think of this as your SCCM server, where you have your client one within your SCCM. Okay, what will happen? Since your machine is already in the line of sight, okay, your SCCM should also be able to manage. So your MDM Intune is able to manage this machine, but SCCM is also able to manage this machine. Now, to avoid the conflicts, there is something called as workload allocation between your SCCM and Intune. This is called co-management. So if an application deployment is done by Intune, it cannot be done by SCCM. If a patch management is done by SCCM, it cannot be done by Intune. So like this, you can go ahead and input the workloads. Okay. Now, if you have any questions on this, you can type in the chat if you're not able to speak. Okay. Now, yeah, but I'm not able to hear you. Maybe you might have to check your mic once. Okay, that might be helpful. Or we can have a conference if you want. I can ask the institute to put a conference later. Okay, if you want to still speak to me, check your mic once if possible.
This conference will now be recorded.
Yes, do you have any questions on these two concepts?
Yeah, the question is like, you have said about the Azure AD join, the purely Azure AD join and the hybrid join, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
there could be another scenario as well, wherein there could not be Azure AD. I mean, Azure AD will be there, but on-prem AD will not be there. So, so under such circumstances, what will
Azure AD is here, on-prem AD is not here, na? That is only Azure AD. Your question was, Azure AD will be there, on-prem AD will not be there, correct?
Yeah.
So that is your Azure AD.
But in that one, the SCCM is missing, right there?
Yeah, Azure AD system will not be there.
No,
But actually, technically, you can put SCCM for even Azure AD join, but I will talk about pathways. Okay, even here, if you want to add SCCM, we can add SCCM, provided in SCCM CMG is configured.
Yeah, yeah,
Getting
CMG is
okay?
configured. Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, we can even do that here. That option is there, but normally they don't prefer that. Okay, maybe if you have 100 environments, maybe 3 or 4 environments might be like that.
So you
Okay.
mean to say that CMG is required if the on-prem AD is missing, right?
If
Under what
no,
circumstances that?
you cannot install an SCCM without an on-prem ID. Number one.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if you have an on-prem ID, then you have your SCCM. Okay. If you want to join your machine clients to just an Azure AD join, then you need a CMG, which if you have to manage using a SCCM. Okay. But normally, if people don't prefer that. Okay, you're just complicating things because CMG is a huge cost, Any data that flows into that is a huge cost. Okay,
Okay.
the cost
And
case it's very.
okay. Then in the hybrid case, what you are showing it in this case, we don't require a CMG.
In this case, you don't. If CMG is not required because you will have something called as always on VPN, or the machines will be in the LAN. In these two scenarios. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This is called always on VPN. That is, the machines will be in line of sight with your on-premise. Got it?
Okay.
Like this, we'll
Okay.
discuss a lot of things in the class. Okay, because I take about good 3 classes for autopilot. At that point in time, we go very deep into this. Okay, because I'll discuss about. I have almost completed about 26 projects approximately when it comes to Intune. So I'll discuss all the issues and things like that. Even when Intune was in the very, very beginning stage, we started. So there's a lot of experience that I can share with you. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now let me show you the application deployment part. Okay. So what I have done is we have staged and deployed few applications. Okay, within your Intune environment. Now, what's happening? This is on the Intune side, on the console side that we have deployed few apps. Now, when we deploy this onto the client side, instead of Software Center, you have something called as
Company
company
portal.
portal.
Yeah.
Okay, you have something called as company portal. Now you have an app here. If I go ahead and install it, will get installed. But while getting installed, how it is getting downloaded? Those are the questions. How it is getting downloaded and how it is getting installed. Let me do one thing. I have to show you two paths. Okay, the file paths. First is there are about 32 steps, okay, for this application deployment, which we will be discussing, okay, in the class. Now, C program files x86 slash management into an extension. Okay, here, this observe this, okay, it's empty now. Let me open one more path. C:// Windows / IME cache. Okay, observe these two. Now what will happen is if I go ahead and say install VLC, you will be seeing it will get downloaded here, and from here you can see it will get extracted here. So let's see that. Observe that it's download pending. I hope it gets downloads syncing properly. Yeah. Now, if you see here, there's a dependency app for this. WinZip 2.6 dependency 1 is downloaded and installed as a part of a VLC media player 3.8. So the first is the dependency app is getting installed. That is nothing but your WinZip 26. Okay, observe that. And what is downloading? A bin file is downloading. After this, it will get extracted here. You'll see that. See, it's installing the WinZip 26 actually. This is my ongoing class lab. So we have done a dependency scenario on. That is why it is coming here. See here, this bin file. Now you will see that you'll get a file that is getting formed here. And after everything is completed, both these files will get deleted.
Okay. So under the incoming folder, it is where it downloads. It is like a cache, right?
This is cache. What I am cache. This is an encrypted file format. See what's happening is you are downloading your applications onto cloud. Anything that's basically moving from your on-prem environment to your cloud environment. There should be some kind of an encryption, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, if for it, so you see now it came here. It will be very quick though. You can see your 7-zip MSI is here. WinZip MSI is here. Okay. Now after this, the next your VLC media player will come. Okay. Observe this. This will get deleted. Next, okay, your VLC media player will come. Once the installation is complete of this WinZip. Yeah, I was telling about the encryption, right? So anything that has to go from your on-prem, okay, to your cloud, it will be encrypted. Then when it has to come to your end user, it has to decrypt itself. Then so basically the decryption process is happening.
Okay. So the in the incoming folder, it is decrypting.
Incoming folder is an encrypted file. From there, it is getting decrypted, and you can see the actual file in the IMA cache.
Okay.
And where the encryption happens on all those things, there are certain files. I will show you those files. Okay, in the class, there is a specific 12-step workflow that will happen very easily. You can remember. I'll give you those steps also. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because what I have observed when it comes to most of the Intune trainings, which is available in Udemy and YouTube, is nobody is talking about the actual production troubleshooting knowledge that is required. Everybody is just taking the document of Microsoft and they are just putting that into a video format where it's like go click here, things will work. But in the production, it does not work like that. When you click on something, when something is not working, okay, how you are going to troubleshoot that? The only way you can troubleshoot that is by knowing the workflows. Now I'm showing a workflow here. It's very 3-step workflow for the same application deployment. They were same for this. You still have a 12-step workflow, and after that you have 32-step workflow. But normally I ask my students to remember the 12-step workflow, okay, which is easy to remember. Okay, that is enough for troubleshooting. Like this on autopilot also, you have close to around 16-step workflows for the hybrid Azure Ad Join. But Azure Ad Join is pretty easy. Okay, things will happen quickly and it happen fast. But when it comes to hybrid Azure Ad Join, when your machines go to the on-prem Active Directory, there is a lot of issues that will happen. You see here, your WinZip 26 was installed and you saw the files got deleted. Observe that the files were downloaded. Now your VLC will start coming because the dependency for this VLC was your WinZip, and you can see the WinZip app available here. On your left side, you can see that it's installed.
So, are there any logs that can be monitored during this phase?
There is a log. I'm not showing the log because of the screen space. I will show the log after this is done. Okay, there is a log. Yeah. You can see it is downloading. You can see the bin file here while the downloading on top. That if I open the log, it locked my entire screen. So, but I wanted to see all this workflow in a single. Now see here, your VLC. Hey Sam, how are you?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good. I think it's been about a year that we worked together before.
Yeah, I remember we worked for the application packaging. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So Sam, I'm trying to explain the application deployment using Intune. What is the backend workflow that happens for the demo? Yeah.
Okay.
Hanmantu, you have any questions? You fairly joined late.
uh, in between.
Yes. So I'm trying to explain the application deployment. Okay. And I did explain
Yeah.
the Azure Ad Join and
Okay.
Azure Ad Join. I'll
Okay.
try to explain it again after this is done. Okay.
Thank you.
For you guys who joined late. See here, this bin folder. Now you observe this. It will get VLC media player almost installed. Now you can see it will get deleted. Just see the deletion. Look at the size. It's 53 compressed image, and this is 654 MB. 54 MB. This is 53 MB. This is a kind of an I4 detail that you have to observe. I'll also actually teach you scripting as well, because an application deployment knowledge without a scripting, I'll be teaching a PowerShell app deployment toolkit, so that you guys are not handicapped or dependent on any other resource for doing any kind of a customized deployments. Yeah, now see it's installed, it should get deleted now. See, you'll get a DOS notification. Your bin file is deleted. Your VLC file is deleted. Okay. Now you can launch your app. It's going through a selfie. If you also figure from the back in the packaging background, you'll understand what this is. This is called selfie. So your VLC is up and running. Now I was asked about the log file. So the log file is present here. Program data, Microsoft, Intune management extension, logs. I'll show you here. You can see your commands that actually ran. This is an autopiloted machine, guys. So, yeah. So if I go ahead, put Control F bring 32 app, now you can see, okay, your app is finished here, but on top also, we can actually, let me go ahead and top and type Control F and type VLC. We don't need this. So if you see here, this is for the 7-zip that got installed yesterday. 7:30. Today's date is 20th, right? Yeah. So normally you can see your applications here under Win32. You have to look out for this square bracket Win32 app. It is actually checking for the who is logged on user. Then slowly from here, if you come, you can see this is your 7-zip app that you got that it's checking for if it is processed properly or not. Then here you can see for that app, it's actually checking the detection rules. Yes, is it applicable? It's checking those. So if it is not applicable, skip the applicability check. Same way, let me see. Okay, here is checking for any dependencies for that particular app. If there's no dependencies, then it's going ahead and install. Then here also you can check here, it's downloading here, WinZip's dependency is getting downloaded. Okay, then after that, one of the easiest ways just to click on this, take this in 32. Yes, like this Win32 step. If you see the steps, you can see the actual apps front and back. That will be easy for you to find out. Now, you see here, you can see the command line, uninstall command line for your WinZip as well, and this is the install command line for that. Okay. Then after that is done, you should be able to see your VLC. Come down, step. So here is checking for your VLC. Then down you should be able to see your install command line and install command line for your VLC. This is not so simple as your app enforcement.log, app discovery.log. Okay, but here you would be finding a step-by-step information. Okay, for each of the activities that your Win32 app is doing. So let me help you with yeah, see here, this is your VLC's uninstall, and this is your VLC's install MSIXCC VLC, and how it is getting installed. So these are automatically it got generated, and then once the installation is successful, it will detect the installation is done. Okay, so this is the log file, C program data, Microsoft Intune management extension logs, Intune management extension log. Okay, which we normally use.
Where does it state that it's been completed, that VLC player?
Okay, it will come here. Wait a minute, it's got hung for me. It will be at the end. Received app installation status update. Okay. You will not see it is just completed. That word will not be there. It will check the product code 3834. This is the product code of your your VLC, and it says found it. That means application detected is equal to true.
Okay.
Getting the point? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, since for those of you guys who joined late, okay, let me give you a small update on what I was explaining to Mukta. So I was explaining the difference between your Azure Ad Join or a hybrid Azure Ad Join. These are the two ways in which the machine gets connected to your, or the end user machines will get connected to your environment, or it might be hybrid Azure environment, or it might be Azure environment. Now, how is end user machine managed using in your Azure AD environment is you have a client one, okay, and that client one is actually talking to your Azure AD. You can see the client one, the machine object will get written in the Azure AD. Once the machine object gets written in the Azure AD, your MDM is enabled within your Azure. Once that could be your Intune MDM or AirWatch or anything. But normally, since we're learning Intune, here it's going to be Intune MDM, and you have a client one coming from your Azure AD to your Intune. Once this sync happens, your Intune will be able to send policies, app, and perform autopilot on this particular client one machine. It'll basically be able to manage. Next, what you have? You have something called as hybrid availability. So what is this environment? Here you have your client one, which is already there in your on-prem Active Directory. From your on-prem Active Directory, it is getting synced to your Azure Active Directory. Once this thing happens, there's one more thing happening, okay? Because when from your Azure Active Directory, it is getting synced to your Intune MDM. Okay, now here client one, so client one comes here. Here it will be for your on-premise machine, it will be still be able to send policies, apps, and autopilot. Now this is done. So where is your SCCM coming into picture into on-prem? So you have your SCCM that is already having the client one information on that, and it is already managing your client here. Now your Intune is also managing, your SCCM is also managing. Your Intune is a cloud native device management tool. SCCM is on-prem device management tool. Now, if your Intune is doing an application deployment, SCCM will not be able to do an application deployment. There's a concept called co-management. Inside that co-management, there's a concept called workloads. You have to manage those workloads or assign those workloads for Intune or SCCM. Say patch management has to be done through Intune. If patch management has to be done through Intune, it can be done through your SCCM. So this is what I was explaining. Any questions, guys? Hanmantu, Mukhtar, Sam, any questions?
If you can tell about that CFD as well in that scenario, type of scenario, it will be good.
Okay, CFD is very simple. You have your Azure. Okay, let me open up a new MSP. There's one more path which I can explain also. Say you have your cloud Azure ready. Then you have your end user machine. Okay. Then you have your Intune. Okay. Now what's happening? Client one. The client one is coming here, and it is here in your Intune. So I could make it as Intune MDM. Now there is the always sync that's happening. Your Intune is able to manage. Now, what if you want to manage this Azure AD joined device? When I say Azure AD joined device, it is only internet. Okay, that means it's only internet. There is no intranet for this machine. Okay, at this point in time, if you want to manage that particular machine using your SCCM as well for whatsoever reasons, okay, then say you have, let me take SCCM. Now, if there is SCCM, obviously you have your on-prem AD. Now, what will happen is you will connect this, you will install client here. Okay. Now there will be something called as cloud management gateway. Okay. So where is this cloud management gateway? It will be part of your, this will be over this is your DMZ zone or something. This is on the internet. This is your cloud management gateway. Okay. So through this cloud management gateway, I can remove this. Through this cloud management gateway, you can manage your SCCM, because all the policies and everything will have to come through cloud manager. It's nothing but it will have a proxy management point. From there, it will get managed. Okay, and still you can establish a sync between your on-prem and the Azure AD. But this particular infra is pretty rare. Okay, in fact, I've only seen one client for some particular reason they asked us to implement this, but this was the very rare, because this cloud management gateway that you see is pretty expensive. Any data that flows through it is pretty expensive. If you're having a larger clients, at that point in time, we don't actually larger number of machines, then we don't set up. In small machines, then that's okay. Okay, but large environment, it's actually not cost effective to implement this. Okay, any questions on that, Mukta?
Yeah, okay. Apart from the cost perspective, is there anything else from the hybrid join to this kind of hybrid join?
See, for hybrid joint, it's mostly this scenario. So this is the least expensive and the most widely used one. Other than cost, I don't see anything, because ultimately, end of the day, CMG is also, if you want to manage your machines on the internet without Intune, CMG is one more thing. Okay, so normally in the companies, this will be the infra. If you don't have Intune, what you see here, this will be the infra. Okay, to manage the machines over the internet without Intune.
Yeah.
If you have Intune, they normally do not try this.
Yeah. In this scenario, the machines that come into the SCCM, it could show it as a non work group machines, right? Like that.
That I do not remember. At that level, I don't remember. I have to see. I don't think so. It shows up. I have to see that. I'm not seeing that actually. I have to see that.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions on? Okay. And I'll also explain how the class is going to be. Every day class will be from Monday to Friday. It will be at 7 a.m. in the morning, and you will be WhatsApp group where I'll be sharing notes. I'll be giving instruction, post-class activities that you can perform. Okay, in that, and you'll be interacting with me. Like if you perform the activity, the results of the screenshots can be shared there. So basically, you will be interacting with me through the WhatsApp group. And if you want to call me, you can call me through WhatsApp or through normal call. Now, after the class is over, after your Intune class is done with me, you can still be in touch when you're working on your production. You have some issues or you want some clarifications. You are always free to ping me. Okay, because my number is not going to change. That's the same number I'm using from past 20 years. Okay, you can always reach out to me for any kind of a consult when you're having some issues in your production. Okay, and after every class, a recording will be shared. Okay, so that you can review the recording and do the same in your environment. Okay, there will be a lab environment that will be set up only for this class. There will be a separate tenant that will be set up, and all of you will be given your unique IDs, that is your company username and password, using which you will be performing all the Intune activities that I will give you in the class. Okay, and I've tried to make this class as much as production oriented. Okay, and so that you get your value for money, and when you face this issue within the production, you should be the first one to answer, or you have the first movers advantage than your colleagues, because most of them do not know the workflows. Okay, but you will be doing that. Got it?
Yeah.
So this is how it's going to work. Yeah. Any questions, Hanmantu, Mukhtar, or Sam?
We are already using SCCM, so I'm working as a packager. You're already having a applications already SCCM. I wanted to convert those applications for my Intune by using Intune attribute lab. So here I know that process, but I have a doubt. Like here, I need to choose that deploy application.exe file, or how can we convert? There, in file folder there are multiple files like .exe or remaining support files are there.
See, ultimately there will be only one installer. Even if there are multiple files, there will be only one installer. That might be your deploy. So you're packaging using app deployment toolkit. Then
Yes,
you will have
correct.
something called deploy application application.exe. Using the deploy application.exe, what happens first? You'll create an Intune win file. So I'll just show you. We already created one for the class. Just for your understanding, give me a minute. Let me show that. So if you observe here, this is one of the Intune files. So I have my see this is my Google Chrome application, deploy application.exe. This I have converted into Intune file. This Vim file I will upload. Okay, this Vim file basically I will upload here. I have uploaded that in here and have created an app, and we have deployed that. Okay, this Intune file what you see is part. This is your Google Chrome application that I have uploaded, and I'll give the command line like this. Okay, got it, Hanumantu? We'll go very detailed. We'll go in very detail about this in the class. Okay, and also how you will handle the LOB, winter when you will use both. Okay, all those things I'll tell you. What are the limitations it has? We'll talk about all those things. Yes. And guys, please share your phone numbers here. Those of you joined late, there'll be one feedback call. Only once they will call you. Don't worry about the disturbance and things like that.
Sure.
Please share your phone numbers in the chat. Yeah. In the meantime, others can ask the questions.
So we'll be covering it about update rings as well, right? And auto.
Yeah, Windows Update for Business will be covered. Okay, and its limitations also will be covered. Yes. So whatever you need, see, I am working in a production Intune environments. I execute, I architect projects. So my whole concept of this class is whatever is needed for my students to work on production with limited help or no help. Okay, or if they want to Google, they should know what to Google. Okay, because Intune is obviously going up. So that kind of a confidence level will be the takeaway from the class. Okay, so you will not feel like the class happened, then after this I did not practice or did not get information properly. You will not get that. You will be getting the confidence. Only request is just practice. After the class is done, whatever we do, redo that in your lab. How is your lab going to be? You can either create a lab in Oracle VirtualBox or your VMware or your Hyper-V, whichever is whichever your machine permits. And then we enroll that machine onto the Intune, and then you can manage whatever you're going to deploy it to your own machine and try. So that particular small practice, maybe 1 hour from you after the class, will really make a very big difference for your career. You getting my point?
Yeah.
And Kishore, what is course like how many days?
Okay. Now the current ongoing classes is happening from the plan is for 4 weeks, but it will go to 4 weeks to 5 weeks. Okay, but I'll try to close it within 4 weeks. Okay, that's about 20 classes. But sometimes I'm adding a lot of information in between. For most of the classes, I'm keeping on adding information. So you'll have from 20 hours to 23 hours approximately. That's about month, 1 month approximately. You should be able to attend. Okay, and for me, what's important is my class duration also completely depends on the kind of a crowd that is there in the my student list. If there are some SCCM people, then I'll talk a lot about various other advanced production scenarios If there are only like people who are starting in Intune, then that particular scenarios will be a little bit different. So I try to make sure that everybody gets their part so that they can use that in their production environment. Yeah, any other questions, guys?
And do you provide any kind of interview question related, like they will be asking in scenario based questions?
While
like
in the class, when I do the concepts, at that time I'll tell you, observe this question might come from this topic. Like that I will tell actually.
Thank you.
Anything else? Like,
No questions here.
yeah.
So the labs will be
Sam,
available,
you have
right?
been asking me for the class from almost a month and a half. I think today you found time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually what I do every day. I deploy apps in Intune, and I manage apps in Intune.
Okay.
So I'm familiar with some of this stuff.
Yeah. So after the class, you'll actually be seeing the way the way you deploy apps or troubleshooting skill levels will get improved. So
Yeah.
it is just not drag dropping. It's just not creating Intune file and deploying. There are so many things happening in the backend. So
Yeah.
you'll understand that as well. Yeah.
Kishore, one last doubt. In applications, is there any way to auto update? Like you have uploaded Chrome browser, right? So is there any
Auto
provision?
update. Now what happens is even in SCCM we don't have an auto update option unless
Yes.
if it's a patch deployment. So the same way in Intune also. Okay. So
No auto update.
once you deploy an app, if auto update is enabled within the app, it will get updated. But normally, as a best practice, auto update should be disabled within your apps. So it has to
No.
be a centralized update.
If provision is available from Intune Endpoint Manager console or from end user machine, it will update automatically.
There is no provision available in Intune to an auto update of an application as of now. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Because there are a lot of other scenarios come into picture because auto update is not encouraged because it might break the app for various other things. So it has to be controlled update. Normally for applications, it is basically preferred is the supersedence. That is the preferred method rather than the auto update to maintain the uniformity within the environment.
You said the class starts this week or the following week?
The class starts on 25th.
25th?
That's coming Monday. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because enrollments would take some time for them to decide if this class is going to help them or not. So it'll take about by 24th, all the enrollments will get closed. 24th or 23rd. Then on 25th the morning, the class will start. Before that, I'll add them all of you guys. I'll add to a WhatsApp group. I'll be sharing a lot of files for you to download, a lot of links. I'll be preparing the lab from the backend for you guys to access and things like that. After that, we will start the class. So for me, I normally get the names by 23rd. So I'll get one day buffer for me to prepare for the class.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. If all well, shall we close the demo?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.